Yeah, back on the SportsMax zone, and we're staying with football redemption for AC Port of Spain, who were crowned champions of the Trinidad and Tobago Premier League on Sunday, having surrendered the title on the final day last season. AC Port of Spain made no mistake this time around, spanking Point Fortune Civic by 3-0 at the Mayaka Sports Complex, with goals from Dwayne Muquette, Nathan Lewis and Michael Poon Angaran. They finished on 44 points, 2 ahead of Police FC, who edged Central FC 1-0 with a 75th minute goal from Jovin Jones. Now, let's have a look at the final standings in the Trinidad and Tobago Premier League. AC Port of Spain winning with 44 points. Police FC second and 42 points. Defence Force finishing on 40 points, 5 ahead of Club Sando on 35 points. And then FC Eagles and Central FC at the bottom of the table in 10th and 11th position. Just 2 points for Central FC. A really poor run in the campaign, but they're doing pretty well in the knockout competition. So maybe they'll salvage something significant from this campaign. But Mariah, massive victory for AC Port of Spain. They went into the final day needing to win to guarantee that they would win the title. Remember last year, they went into the final day with a 2-point advantage as well. They lost the Defence Force, who of course went on to win the title by a point. But this time around, they got the job done. They're calling it redemption.
It's like Cavalier.
And it must be pretty sweet as well.
Yeah, it's giving me a reminder of what happened in the JPL as well.
Yeah, and in a way a reminder of what happened in the EPL as well.
Yeah, so what I noticed, for the entire weekend, Ricardo, is that there were a lot of revenge matches. And of course, well, not for my team, Manchester City, because we won 4 times in a row, in case you forgot.
Yes.
But for the other teams, the ones that really wanted the revenge got the better of their opponent. And for me, it just speaks to the clubs improving, because AC Port of Spain would have ensured that they did not make the same errors against the opposition this season. And I think, looking at the matches, AC Port of Spain has continued to improve throughout the season. So it's something that, they can really celebrate. Defence Force will feel as if, they were hard done, because they also, it's just 2 points that separate the winners. So it also speaks to the quality.
Police?
Police FC, sorry.
Yeah.
Police FC. It speaks to the quality of the competition.
Yeah, and it's always great when you have a league competition going down to the final day, having teams still in with a shot at winning the title. And so I also thought that SportsMax did a very good job, covered live the Police encounter against Central FC, but also had the highlights coming from the other game. So that was really good to get that juxtaposition of what was going on in both matches, and to get the highlights and to get the updates throughout the course of the afternoon, so you knew exactly what was happening with the title race. But I think it was very good for the league, and to think that it is the 2nd consecutive year that this is happening in the Trinidad and Tobago Premier League does say a lot for the competitiveness of the league, because that's what you want when it comes on to a league format. It is one of the biggest things against the league format, especially in the Caribbean context, that teams can win the title with many matches to go, and then it takes the sting out of everything else. But in Trinidad and Tobago, they've been fortunate enough that in 2 consecutive seasons, they've gone down to the final day. And from that standpoint, it's really good.
Yeah, I love that excitement. And as I said, even when we did the preview on Thursday, because I was not with you on Friday, we noticed that we were going into our weekend, Ricardo, where it was anyone's match to walk away with, anyone's title to walk away with. Yeah, and for me, that just adds to the beauty of the product. And speaking about that, we have the man, Brent Sancho. He has been working. Yeah, go ahead, Ricardo.
Yeah, Brent Sancho. Great. For you to join us. I thought you were away celebrating with AC Port of Spain, but then I remember that you're a Central FC man, and well, not a lot to celebrate there. But a massive victory this for AC Port of Spain, because they were so close last year and let it slip, but not this time around.
Yeah, it was interesting. We had a conversation with Coach Walt Noriega right before the club Sando game, which was 2 games before the end or penultimate game of the season. And he mentioned learning from the mistakes of the past. Of course, they lost last season on the last kick of the game against Defence Force. They went down to 2-1 in that fixture where they only needed a tie. And they did everything in their power, as according to what he said in the pre-game build-up to the game against Club Sando, to make sure that they recognize the mistakes that they made last season and it does not come back this season. So in the last 2 games, they won against Club Sando, of course, in that fixture, and then they came in this fixture that we're currently seeing against Heritage Petroleum, Point Fortin Civic, to come away winners. 2 tricky games, I must add, Ricardo and Mariah, that they were able to navigate. And truth be told, I think if I am to be fair, they are deserved champions.
Yeah, of course, deserved champions, Brent. And, you know, we always remember the goal scorers on the final day, but I just want you to remind us of the players from AC Port of Spain that has really helped push this team to this title, because yes, getting them across the line on the final day, the goal scorers, incredible. But it takes a team, of course, in a format like this to walk away as champions.
Yeah, and I'm happy you mentioned that, because you cannot go any further than their goalkeeper in Marvin Phillip at 40, close to 40 years old, 39. Of course, a former national team goalkeeper, served this country very well in what he was able to do. There were some games where they should have lost. If I'm to be very straight about this, they should have lost those games. And his performances, of course, earned him man of the match accreditations, but more importantly, kept them on the right pathway to winning it. And when you look at some of the games that they just managed to get through, particularly against teams in and around them, one thing was synonymous with those victories was the performances of Marvin Phillip. He has been absolutely outstanding for them. Mind you, this is a team that had its challenges. They've had, of course, a long stint of injury to their captain and star player, Dwayne Muckett. They've had challenges at the back. Young Abu Bakr has had his injuries situation. So they've not really been playing on full throttle throughout the season. But one thing was constant for AC Port of Spain, and that was the services of Marvin Phillip. He was truly outstanding. And if there's one player that you'd have to credit, as much as this is a team game for their success, you would have to point to the big custodian in the goal.
Yeah, for sure. He has really been brilliant. And before you joined us, Ricardo and I were talking about the quality of the competition, how the competition has improved. And I mean, the point standings speak to that, Brent. Police FC finishing in second, and of course, just 2 points separating them from first position. What do you make of Police FC season? Because, of course, I would say they have improved drastically from what we would have seen.
Yeah, they have. And of course, they've had an infusion of top talent coming into their side. Jovin Jones, of course, to name a few that would have joined Kaleem Highland as well, a very experienced midfielder out of Belgium, to come into their fold as well. And to be honest with you, Mariah, they really had it in their own hands up until possibly 5-6 weeks ago. And then in a different sort of form, they really struggled to put the ball in the back of the net. They did sign and acquire Willis Plaza early in the season. He left the club around the middle of the season, and he did not really live up to expectation in terms of his scoring capacity, and they did struggle. Kareem Freitas, who did at the end, started to add 1 or 2 goals to the sheet, but they didn't have that out-and-out striker that would score 15, 16 plus goals a season. And if they did have that, they would have been runaway winners of this league. And when it really mattered, what I like to call the business end of the season, they started to struggle to get results and struggle to get wins. That draw against 1976 Phoenix and Tobago was really the dagger in the heart for Police FC. And of course, that draw coming in the last minute of injury time, where they drew that game 3 apiece. And that's really where the title swung back in the direction of AC Port of Spain, who, truth be told, guys, did not necessarily show championship form in the last 8 games or so. So it was really up for grabs to anyone.
Yeah, and as it turned out, AC Port of Spain got the win. You know, I watched the final day yesterday on SportsMax, Brent. A few things I loved, a few things I didn't like very much. One of them, the quality of the fields left a lot to be desired, especially in the game between Police and Central FC. I thought the field looked really, really poor, and especially for such an important game. So that was a massive disappointment from my standpoint. There is something else that disappointed me.
On the issue of the field, and I'm glad you brought that point up, it really was a challenge this season for the league. Not only did they struggle to get consistent venues where they had to have games, of course, publicized 2 days before because they couldn't get a lot of these facilities. And may I mind our viewers that, of course, 80% of these venues are owned by the government and not by the league. So, of course, they'd have to go through a booking process. And because of that and some of the closures of some of the facilities, we've had a very harsh dry season here in Trinidad and Tobago. So when you culminate all of that, you've had situations where games were played in less than desirable situations. And you saw it throughout the competition. In fact, myself and the other commentators in the game, and James Saunders and Colin Murray, we lamented on the fact that the facilities and the ground conditions contributed to some of the strange results that we had in the season. You would see more coherent results when the pitches were much better. And if it's one thing going into the next season, you really hope that could be adjusted and attuned to, because it did have an impact, A, on, of course, the type of football that we saw, and B, and probably as is important, the type of attendances that we saw as well, because the attendances did not live up to its nature as well. So I think those two things hopefully can be fixed.
Yeah, that was one of my other disappointments, Brent. But I also wanted to ask you quickly, because we're fast running out of time. There was a time when in Trinidad and Tobago, you would have very good players from right across the Caribbean coming to play in your pro league. It seems to be now that has shifted to Jamaica, the Jamaica Premier League, where you have a lot of players from outside of Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, Antigua and Barbuda, plying their trade here. How far away is Trinidad and Tobago to getting back to that stage where they can attract a lot of quality from the rest of the Caribbean and even outside?
Well, I think next season, Ricardo, is going to be a massive season for the TTPFL, because that is exactly the direction they would have to go in. I think obviously corporate support and more financial input into the game will help that. Of course, the facility situation as well, and a consistent season, meaning start and stop dates, is also going to help in that situation. I think the pandemic and, of course, the dip in the last TT Pro League has caused that eradication of it. But we are slowly starting to see it, because, of course, with the AC Port of Spain team, 2 Grenadians that signed in the transfer window market in December were a catalyst for their, of course, eventual championship stature. So hopefully we'll see more of it. But as I said, those 3 things, as I mentioned, is critically important. And next season would be a massive season for the TTPFL if they are to start to go back to what Trinidad and Tobago league football meant to the Caribbean.
Yeah, we'll definitely be tracking it here on SportsMax and on the SportsMax Zone. Brent, as usual, thanks very much for stopping by. Take care. We'll chat again soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a great one.
All right. Let's take another break on the SportsMax Zone. We'll go back with more.
Just take a shot when you see me, dog. I want to go down to Trinidad. I want to get drunk with the carnival. I get Trinidad sweet.